Trilogy Foundation Tier End of Year Multiple Choice Question Review. Question 1. Which statement about microwaves is correct? They are not longitudinal. Frequencies of microwave greater than frequencies of visible light? No. Speed of microwaves in a vacuum equal to the speed of visible light in a vacuum? Yes. Wavelength smaller than visible light or infrared? No. So it is C for that first one. Question 2. An object moving with uniform deceleration, which statement describes the motion? The rate of change of speed is uniform, so that's not true. Uniform means not changing. The speed is constant, well, it's decelerating, so that's not true. The speed is decreasing, that works. The speed is increasing, well, deceleration is a decrease, a rate of decrease, so it is C. 3. Most cars burn fossil fuels to release energy. Which characteristic of living organisms is that similar to? Well, that's the release of energy from fuel, right? So it's respiration. So it's D. Question 4. Why is tar in cigarette smoke harmful? It isn't actually addictive. It's the nicotine that's addictive. But it does cause cancer. It's got nothing to do with this. So it's B. Question 5. Which statement about greenhouse gases is correct? Caused by acid rain? No. They're caused by, acid rain is caused by sulfur dioxide, so that's not true. They are produced by photosynthesis. They are used by photosynthesis, so be careful there. So it's not produced. CO2 is taken in as one of the reactants in photosynthesis. They generate heat when they react with sunlight? Well, no, they don't. But they do reduce the heat loss from the earth, so that's D. Question 6. An electric kettle has the following label attached to it. This is a little difficult to read. Current, 7.5 amps. Frequency, 50 hertz. Power, 1800 watts. Voltage, 240 volts. A fuse then is about controlling the amount of current that flows through your kettle. So we're looking for a current. The only one we have is there. So question 6 is A. Question 7. Optical fibers are used to transmit telephone conversations. What is transmitted by the optical fiber? Well, it's optical, so it's electromagnetic waves. So that takes us down to either the first one or the second one. Constant amplitude? Well, if you had a wave of constant amplitude, if that was a sound wave, that wouldn't tell you very much, would it? Wouldn't be much of a conversation. So it has to have a changing amplitude. So it's going to be pulses. It's B. Question 8. What change must take place in an endothermic reaction? Well, endothermic, looking for some temperature. Bubbles of gas? Not necessarily. Mass decrease? No. Temperature decrease? Well, endothermic means a fall in temperature, right? So it's C. Exothermic would be D. 9. Units of wavelength. It's a length. It's B. Meters. 10. Process Q happens in cells. Carbohydrates go through process Q to release energy. What is process Q? That is respiration, of course. 11. Which energy resource is not renewable? Well, that's easy. It's fossil fuels, isn't it? Tide, sunlight, wind, all renewable. 12. Which statement describes a mixture? Well, if it's a mixture, then it's not the same type of atom. Only one type of atom, that's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Two different types of atom joined chemically. Is that a mixture? Or is that a compound? Two different types of atom that can be separated by physical processes. That's your mixture. 12 is D. 13. Which statement about the products of fractional distillation of petroleum is not correct? Fractions obtained from high up have low boiling points. Well, that's true. Fractions obtained from low down contain large molecules. Well, that's true. Large molecules have weak intermolecular attractive forces. Well, is that true? Large molecules are found at the bottom, where it's hottest. So they require more energy to break them up. So that wouldn't be true. The answer is C. 14. Diagram shows an animal cell. You don't have a diagram, but a diagram shows an animal cell. The maximum diameter of the diagram is 25 millimeters. The maximum diameter of the actual cell was 0.02. What's magnification? Well, we know that our magnification is our image size divided by our object size. So if we divide our image size, 25 millimeters, by 0.02, we'll get 1250, which is C. 15. The sun is the original source of many of our energy resources. For which energy resource is the sun not the original source? So, hydroelectric. Well, how does hydroelectric work? That's a dam, right? So you get rain falling on a mountain, the rain runs down the mountain in a river, you build a great big wall on the end of the river, and the water builds up behind it. So that water is there because of rain. Rain happens because of the sun. The sun evaporates the water from the sea. So hydroelectric is down to the sun. Natural gas, well, that's a fossil fuel. That's down to the death of animals many, many years ago. And gas being produced, the animals lived because of the sun. So that's down to the sun. Nuclear, well, nuclear, that isn't down to the sun. Waves, well, waves are also down to the sun because they're down to temperature differences. So, nuclear, that's the answer, C. 16. A machine does 6 kilojoules of work in 20 minutes. What's the useful power? Well, your power is the work done over the time it tells you. So you have 6,000 joules divided by the time taken, 20 minutes, 300. Sorry, 20 times 60, which is 1,200. So 6,000 divided by 1,200 gives you 5 watts. So that's B. 17. What is the name of the type of compound containing only carbon and hydrogen? It's a hydrocarbon. That's got oxygen as well. That's got carbon and oxygen. That's got hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrocarbon. C. 18. Which molecule contains the energy that is released in aerobic respiration? Well, you should know that's C6H12O6. It's not carbon dioxide, water, or oxygen. It has to be the first one. 19. Which rule describes a method used to obtain water from salt water and petrol from petroleum? So let's start with water from salt water. Salt water has salt dissolved in it. So crystallization, we might crystallize the salt afterwards, but we're looking to get the water, not the salt. So that's not it. Distillation, well, you would distill salt water to get the water from it. And fractional distillation is how we get petrol from petroleum. Filtration is not going to work because the salt is actually dissolved, so it'll all come through the filter. So that's not going to work. And again, said that. And distillation is not enough. Fractional distillation is what we're talking about. So it's B. The word equation for anaerobic respiration, that's glucose being broken down in the absence of oxygen. So we're going to have no oxygen on this side, so the last two are ruled out. So it has to be this one or this one. Now these are both valid equations for anaerobic respiration, but this one happens in yeast, for example. This is how we make alcoholic drinks. And this is what happens in muscles, so it's A. 21. Which parts are found in both plant and animal cells? Well, large permanent vacuoles are only found in animal cells, so that's not true. Cell membrane and cytoplasm, they've both got cell membranes, they've both got cytoplasm. Cell walls, no. Cell wall, no. It is B. 22. Which matches the component of blood to its function? Well, red blood cells carry oxygen. That's it. C. 23. During a long distance race, the body temperature of an athlete begins to rise, which changes occur to help return the body temperature to normal. Well, you will sweat more, so that rules out the first two, down to the last two. Blood vessels in the skin constrict or dilate. Well, what you want is the thermal energy in the blood to get dissipated, to get passed away from the body. So you dilate the blood vessels to get more blood flow through the skin on the surface so that you get more heat loss. The answer is D. 24. Arm being raised, arm being raised, arm raised. What's the process? Impulse in motor neuron, sounds good. Muscle contracts, sounds good. Muscle pulls bone, sounds good. Muscle relaxes? No, that's not how it works. In order for this arm to go up, the bicep here contracts and pulls the bone, sorry. So muscle relaxes is rubbish. B and D then, they don't work for this scenario. And muscles don't push bones, they pull bones. So, a motor neuron, muscle contracts, pulls bone, A. "25. Which type of drug is used to treat bacterial infections? That's a fact, it's B, antibiotics. 26. Car travels an average speed of 60 kilometers per hour for 15 minutes. That's 60 kilometers in 1 hour, but for 1/4 of 1 hour. So that'll be 60 divided by 415 kilometers, which is B. Because 15 minutes is 1/4 of 1 hour, so it has travelled 1/4 of 60 in that time. Which energy resource is used to boil water to generate electricity? Well, it's nuclear fission. You don't boil water, you turn turbines. Turn turbines. Turn turbines. It's B. 27. B. 28. Which of the following can be an effector? Well, that's A, that's the gland. Thing that reacts in that reflex arc. Thing that reacts. Carries out some function as the end of the process. What is always true for a pure substance? No. Always contain one kind of atom. Sharp melting point. Well, it could be a pure compound. It will have a sharp melting point. So it's C. Which quantity is measured in newtons? Well, that would be weight, because newtons is the unit for force, and density, energy and pressure are not forces, although pressure is related to a force. 30D.